What's good, family? It's your boy, the YB. Wow, before I start cooking in that, let me get you, man, the link. Turn down this stream as well. Quick time. Wow, man. I was on your boy. Let me show you. I'll show you my mum's yard in a minute. Man was posted up deep in the basement, innit? I'll show you. I was posted. Man was posted up on the settee, minding my own business. Foot kind of gouch. I was like sleeping and whatnot. Next thing I know, Dillian Whyte. Let me get you the link anyway. Let me stop gassing and get. How do you send the link on this dead thing? Share. You man are gonna get the link quick. Oh, this is long. Share in a post. Copy link. Yeah, that's it. Connecting here. You're live now. You should come back on. Wicked. Boom. Apologies for them delays and that. Obviously, you man got the link. I've sent the link. Wicked, wicked, wicked. All right then. I can start cooking. Just finished listening to Eddie Hearn talking hella. What's the word? Talking hella. What's the word? Talking hella. Your boy Eddie Hearn. After he fixed, this is what happens. This is what you call karma. After you start fixing fights, yeah. When you fix the fucking what's her name, God comes back around. I told you man before. I don't know whether God's real or not, but what I do know is karma is a motherfucker. And unfortunately, it's a shame that Dillian Whyte had to pay for Eddie Hearn's karma, man. But yeah, let me give you a great final breakdown on what happened. So 2-2s, obviously. Your boy, the YB. Let me put this on the link actually. Skip first. 1 min. Yeah, so your boy the YB was sitting there, minding his business, posted up on the info. AJ's talking now. Oh, that's annoying. Fuck it, let me listen to that now as well. Quickly.
Months in Portugal training, preparing,
and let me listen to AJ first, and I'll come.
I feel like the training doesn't only add up to this fight with Povetkin. He's got another how many years in the sport, so this is just a blip in the career. Dylan fights for himself. People would say loads of things now. You know, people are going to talk all sorts of stuff about Dylan's performance and stuff.
AJ.
You know, Dylan's a fighter, so I stick with him as a fighter and say, dust yourself off, get back up and go again.
He really has been the most patient man in boxing, hasn't he? Waiting over 1,000 days, like I say, for that title shot. He's just got the one loss on his record now the second to Povetkin. AJ is the other one. How do you think mentally he'll bounce back from this?
I think experience-wise, I think especially how you've just
put a message if you can hear me talking or hear AJ.
Rip into Dillian right there, but what he's done is he's spoken from experience, and so he's basically said, dust yourself off, don't care what anybody said, get your head mentally right, because if you're mentally strong enough, you'll get over that. This happens in the heavyweight game, and I think for Dillian, he has that mentality to do that, and the capability to do that, and there's still opportunities out there for him. They're still there. It's just come across a little bit of a speed bump.
Do you think there'll be frustration there from Dillian as well, because he had such a good start, such a measured start as well?
I think there will. Me and Johnny were speaking, and I asked Johnny, you know, does Dylan still have that instinct in him, because the fight was called Maximum Violence, so when he had the opportunity to take him out, I wanted to see that maximum violence. That's why for me, when I smell blood, I go in there to take someone out, but sometimes you can get caught in the exchange, but at the end of the day, if you leave it a round or two later, as we've seen there, anything can happen.
Sorry about this, but I just saw AJ talking in it, so I want to hear what he says before I Yes, my dad Martin Claridge. Yeah, let me just finish listening to AJ in it, and I'll come back on and start talking.
No matter what you've done before that, it just deletes all of that.
Yeah, that's why I'm not into the tenderizing and taking time. You know, the tactics sometimes go out the window, and you just got to remember this is a fight. This is a fight. You got to take the man out and move on to the next, and take him out and move on to the next, because it's a dangerous sport. It's a tough old sport, but we love it. So well done to Povetkin. Dylan, dust yourself off, champ. Come back again. Don't worry about what anyone's saying. I know what this game's about. You know what it's about. We're involved in it now, and let's make the most of it while we're here.
Well, they said the power is the last thing to leave you, don't they? Povetkin tonight proved it is very much still there. And you actually said about his knockout reel, you think it's probably up there as one of the best out there.
Yeah, I study boxing. I really do study boxing, and I don't like to talk about stuff too much, but when we're speaking off camera, if you watch Povetkin's knockout reel throughout his career, you know, you've got like the David Prices, the Jonathan Duofises, the Dillian Whyte, the Manuel Charles, the Carlos Takams. The knockouts on his highlight reel are phenomenal. They're short, they're compact. I think that his punch resistance, I'm not too sure. Dillian is a big puncher, you all know that. So he showcased that tonight. He hurt Povetkin twice, but also he has the capability of hurting another opponent, as you saw today, because that short, compact little left hook or uppercut is so dangerous.
Well, there's a lot of shock faces around fight camp this evening. Let's see what Tony and Natasha made of it. They're with Andy Scott.
Tony, such a dramatic ending to the fight. Did you see that coming at all?
Tony the bell end.
That kind of drama coming so quickly and abruptly. Andy, I thought I shouted out to Dillian going out for that round. Just be patient now, because there's nothing more dangerous than a man on his last legs. Nigel Benn's another perfect example of someone who used to do it all the time. And Povetkin, even though the second knockdown that he received was heavy, he still had his wits about him. And he's very dangerous. This is what elite heavyweights do. I think the advice given by Anthony Joshua there to Dillian Whyte is exceptional. A true classy individual and sportsman of the highest level. So take that advice. The most important thing is your business side is looked after. You've got a rematch in place. You know the mistakes you've made tonight. You've just been too anxious, got a little bit greedy, and not paid attention at the right time you needed to. But everything was going his way. You know, the two knockdowns were brilliant. Sweet counter left hooks, one behind the ear for the first knockdown. The second, bang on the chin, Andy. But Povetkin shows what elite heavyweights are. They recover, they recuperate. And when he got up, he still meant business. And this is the pure drama of the heavyweight division. You don't get this kind of one-punch end drama in many divisions in boxing. And that's elite level stuff what we've seen tonight.
Tasha, I just wonder, because it's so silent here and such an impact, do you have a question why you do it?
Oh, I mean, when I suffered my first loss against Silvernoff, it felt like the whole world.
Anyway, man, I've heard enough of them cats now.
It's hard to take
The bell end belly talking a whole bunch of rubbish. Let me walk you through my night tonight, man, because it's a madness. A true madness. So obviously, I weren't even really planning on watching this fight. What got me interested was the whole robbery with fucking Pursoon and Katie Taylor. But let's focus on tonight's madness, the main madness with Dillian Whyte. So, 2-2s. I posted up on the city, lights turned off, minding my business, relaxing. My eyes started to shut, and then boom, Dillian Whyte put Povetkin down. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to go simply for Dillian. And then I think in the same round or a round later, he put him down again. And I thought, oh, fucking hell. And in my head, I was cussing, you know. Oh, I swear to God, in my head, I was saying, oh, AJ's a bum, man. What? Not a bum, but I thought AJ was way too cautious in his fight with Povetkin. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, what? How come AJ didn't just murk Povetkin in the first few rounds? In fact, yeah, it took him 7, didn't it, against Povetkin? So I was thinking, if Dillian's just touching this man all over the place and he's falling over and he can't stand up, why didn't AJ just steamroll Povetkin? That's what I was thinking. And the other thing I was thinking, Povetkin, I thought he was shot. And he probably is a bit shot. I thought he couldn't hold a shot, could he? He couldn't hold it. Every time he got touched, he just went down. Now, I know heavyweight boxing is heavyweight boxing, but Povetkin's never been that chinny in his career, I don't think. He was going down with anything he was touched with. And Dillian looked up, and I thought, honestly, the way that... Let's assume that Povetkin wasn't shot. If Povetkin isn't shot, then Povetkin made Dillian Whyte look wicked. Because Dillian Whyte he just looked sharp, didn't he? Touching him all over the place. He looked sharp. Next thing I know, swear to God, I was just about to drift off. Next thing I know, I see Dillian Whyte's fucking toes curling on the canvas. It's stiff as a board. Stiff as a fucking board, I kid you not. He was stiff as a board. And that's what, let me read some of your comments out. Martin Claridge came through. Yo, YB, what the fuck happened? Is Whyte finished? Extreme Tiger Fitness, Sweet Caroline, dun dun dun. My dog, UK low. White went like a tree. White went like a tree. White has always been susceptible to that left hook. I don't even know what to say, man. Honestly, I didn't see that coming, and I feel bad for Dillian, you know. And the reason I feel bad is the fact that he was just in that position now to get a decent bit of fight, wasn't he? Whether it was the Fury fight or the AJ fight. And I guess, in all fairness, he's still there because he can beat Povetkin in the rematch. And I think what will happen, though, in this rematch, Povetkin versus Whyte 2 will be like AJ versus fucking Ruiz 2. Dillian Whyte's going to come out and just jab his cunt right in. And Povetkin's going to be a bit too slow and a bit too old, I think. But it'll be a boring fight, the second one. Or Povetkin pulls out the bag again, knocks him out. And this is something I will say. AJ in 2015, he loosey-gooseyed Dillian Whyte's chin. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. I wasn't sure before because we saw Dillian Whyte put down by Rivas and it was kind of a flash knockdown and no one really bought too much into it. But oh wait there. Sorry, back on again.
This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm sparring. I'll fight today if I could, but I've got to wait until December. I can't wait myself.
Can Johnny and I make a request if it's in December? Can it be indoors somewhere?
Somewhere warm. We've got to give you guys credit. It's cold out here, but we do it for the love of the
Now
sport.
you know. Yeah, absolutely. But with that just around the corner, has this just made you want to get in the ring even more? The whole experience of fight camp.
Yeah, like during lockdown, you know, it's easy for me to get distracted. I box because I need it. You know, it does a lot for me.
Oh, fuck that. He ain't talk about much anyway, so I'll carry on what I was saying. Yeah, Dillian Whyte. Well, I think what happened with Dillian Whyte is after he fought AJ loosey-gooseyed his chin up. And the problem is, we haven't seen him in there. Like, Povetkin, he ain't no Mike Tyson, but he's a solid puncher, as we've seen. He's just fundamentally a solid puncher. He ain't a slapper, is he? And unfortunately, Dillian Whyte either never had a chin, because his chin isn't fundamentally sound. And this is what I was saying with the Wilder fight. I'm not dealing like AJ, yeah, and you can say, "Oh, you're a fangirl," but AJ has a certain level of chin, yeah. AJ on his worst night in there with Ruiz, what happened? Did you see AJ fucking iced? No, you'd never see AJ iced. Like, do you remember the shot that Vlad hit AJ with? A fucking stinging right hand, and it bounced off, and he kind of sat there and got. You don't. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about a caliber of a chin. Dillian Whyte, either AJ popped Dillian Whyte's chin cherry. And that's what fucked him up. Or he was always his chin's always been a bit rocky, isn't it? And that's, I think, going to be one of Dillian Whyte's Achilles heel. He's just not chinless, but he's not far from chinless. Povetkin's finished. Yeah? Let's not make out Dillian Whyte got knocked out by a Povetkin who was on form. Povetkin looked like he was done, didn't he? He looked like a million years old there tonight. So this isn't a good look for Dillian at all. Dillian's meant to be improving and whatnot. And to be honest, I think he was better off staying with his old coach. Yeah? Because in my mind, what's the difference really between Povetkin and Rivas? Yeah, Povetkin probably has got a little bit more class, but he's older as well. And Povetkin was fat tonight, wasn't he? He was old and fat. So I don't know, I think that Dave Caldwell kind of gave Dillian Whyte the Tony Bellew versus Usyk treatment, where you just get knocked out after a few rounds. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think happened tonight. But yeah, Dillian Whyte's chin is a big question mark now. We have to question mark his chin. Because, yeah, this is heavyweight boxing, but Povetkin shouldn't be icing you like that, man. He shouldn't be icing you like that, where you're just fucking dead to the world. The referee didn't even bother counting. He just waved it off. And that's, you can't, against people like Povetkin isn't a Mike Tyson or a Lennox Lewis or an AJ. It's all right getting iced by them, man, but being iced by a 41-year-old man who's been finished, like, you know what I mean? Dave Price put him down, fuck's sake. And that's another thing. We was rating Dillian Whyte knocking Povetkin down, but in reality, Dave Price is no good, and he put Povetkin down. So I should have really thought about what I was seeing, because I was like, wow, Dillian Whyte's fucking boxing his head off. But really, and he wasn't, was he? Because you can't, in this level of the game, at the top level, you can't be getting knocked out by Povetkin. Having said that, there's nothing saying that Wilder could have got knocked out by Povetkin as well, the truth be known, because Wilder's got a similar level of chin as Dillian, in my opinion. And that's why, that's why Wilder never wanted Povetkin. That's why, he came up with a whole lot of excuses. Didn't want to go there. That's why. You've seen it now. Because he would have ended up with his toes curled in a similar fashion to Dillian. But yeah, I do feel, the reason I feel bad for Dillian is because he was right on the verge of getting somewhere. Whether it would be a Fury fight and whatnot. And it's almost as if he rolled the dice just one too many times. He gambled one too many times on this, I'm going to fight anyone. Having said that, though, before the fight, we all thought that the Povetkin fight was a done deal. So I'm sitting here saying, I think Dillian took too many risks. But did he really, though? Povetkin wasn't meant to be a risk, was he? Do you know what I mean? Povetkin shouldn't have been a risk at 40 years old, and AJ's just loosey-gooseyed him up. Because whatever Povetkin was, that was before AJ come and popped the cherry. Because no one's ever stopped Povetkin, have they? Did Vlad stop him? No, I don't know. I don't think Vlad did. Yeah, I think AJ popped Povetkin's cherry. So AJ popped the cherry, loosey-gooseyed him right up for you, for Dillian Whyte. And now Dillian Whyte is his toes cold. I'm sorry, man. Like, it's so funny. Before the fight, everyone was saying, Dillian Whyte's the most improved fighter in fucking history. He's not. And he's got Dave Colwell in his corner. He needs to humble himself. And the thing is as well, you man who follow my Patreon, yeah? You man can, you can vouch for what I've been saying. What have I been saying all this time about Dillian? What have I been warning you, man, about Dillian? All these sports science dons, they don't know what they're doing. And you can say, where anyone can get hit. There's a reason other people ain't getting knocked out by Povetkin. And I'm not saying it's all the Dillian Whyte sports science team's fault, but they ain't helping. He needs to humble himself, say sorry to Mark Tibbs, and sack the rest off. Because they ain't doing it, I'm sorry. I don't believe Dillian Whyte would have been knocked out cold by Povetkin if Mark Tibbs had been managing things. Dillian Whyte's got a bit above his station. He was too busy trying to, I want to fight Fury and whatnot and all this stuff. And he took his after ball. Not only in general, but in the fight as well. Coming into that last round, he just started feeling himself. The first few rounds, he was sticking his jab in Povetkin's quant and he wasn't looking to mix it up. And then he got a little bit too comfortable after the 2 knockdowns and then started trying to mix it up with Povetkin. Which, listen, if AJ wanted to mix it up with Povetkin, he can do that because he's got a chin. We know if AJ gets hit with Povetkin's best shot, at worst, he's going to get put down and he's going to get up. Dillian Whyte, that's not the case. That was the first decent shot Dillian Whyte got hit with, and he's knocked out cold. And it seems to be, thinking about it now, it seems to be Dillian Whyte's chin is susceptible to, guess what? Now, I've been talking about Dillian Whyte being loosey-gooseyed by AJ's uppercut, but that's what's happened. Look at the history. What shot did Dillian Whyte get hit by with AJ? It was a steaming uppercut. What shot did Dillian Whyte get put down by Rivas? It was an uppercut. What shot did he get put down by Povetkin? An uppercut. So what happened is AJ hit him with an uppercut, and it's just shot that part of the chin. This lower part here is just been shot to pieces by AJ, and now it's like a big gaping hole. Like, have you ever watched some of them pornos where there's some next Mandingo don and he's just ramming the booty hole and the booty hole's just gaped? That's what Dillian Whyte's chin's now. It's like, look, I can't even show you, but on the bottom side of Dillian Whyte's chin is a big gaping hole like this. That AJ just gaped it up, essentially. Split it right open. That's what I'm observing scientifically. Scientifically, Dillian Whyte has a gaping hole on the underside of his chin because it's not the side. Dillian Whyte ain't getting knocked out by hooks or jabs or right hands. He's getting knocked out by on the underside. And it's you can say, you're having a laugh or whatever, but I'm just saying what I'm seeing here. And I'm not sure. He needs to humble himself, go back to Tibbs. And Tibbs ain't going to change Dillian Whyte's chin, but I don't know what he's going to do, but it's going to be better than what's going on currently. And the one thing I will say about Dillian, I have lost a bit of respect for him, not because he got knocked out, but because he ran off after the end of the fight. Like, I didn't pay for the fight, but certain man paid for the fight. Now, all them times Dillian Whyte's like, I like people who are respectful, who treat others how they wish to be treated. Now, all them times Dillian Whyte's knocked someone out, yeah, like Lucas Brown or whatever, and them man have stayed around and talked to the camera. Dillian Whyte's been howling, oh, doesn't he? Does that thing, oh, doesn't he? You know what Dillian Whyte does? He goes, oh, he does that howling thing after he's won, which is fair enough. Big man, do your thing, but don't do your thing and then get knocked out. And then you ran off, didn't he? He ran off after the fight, and he's got nothing to say. I just think that's a bit of a, maybe he'll talk to IFL. If so, fair enough. But I think for the big man who paid pay-per-view, you owe it to them. You've just been knocked out by a 40-year-old dude who's shot to pieces. You owe it to them to kind of say, because look what AJ did. AJ lost and he didn't run off in a hissy fit. He took his licks and you know what I mean? He gave the fans what they want to see. After a shock loss, fans don't want you to run off and, you know what I mean? You got to give them a bit. So I have lost a bit of respect for Dillian on that behalf, because he should have stayed there and humbled himself like everyone else has to do. When Dillian knocked Lucas Brown out, Lucas Brown humbled himself. He didn't run off and start crying. But I do understand as well, in sport, these kind of losses, they hurt, they cut deep, man. This kind of loss would have cut Dillian deep. So, yeah, man. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's obviously not as big of. It's not as big of a loss as the AJ loss versus Ruiz, but it's a big fucking thing, man. And it really has put a bit of a spanner in the works, because I was looking forward to that, especially seeing the first few rounds. Based on the first few rounds, I was like, shit, man. Dillian's looking sharp, and he kept kind of slipping and digging his left hook into Povetkin. But then the minute he mixed it up, he just got caught. I don't know, what do you, man, think? Is it normal for someone to mix it up and then get caught with it? That was the first shot Dillian got hit with. Dillian got hit with one shot and was iced. Is that normal? I don't know, man. Boxing's got to be more than getting clipped with one shot. Otherwise, you're just chinny, man. I think there seriously is. I'm not being a hater. I want to know what you might think anyway, but I think there's a serious argument now about whether or not Dillian Whyte's chinny. Because it ain't adding up to me. Something ain't adding up. I know you can be hit with one-off shots and whatnot, but he looked like he kind of... I don't know, he looked like he kind of saw it. He was in the pocket. I don't know what his eyes were doing. Maybe he was too busy trying to get his own shots off, which I think maybe Dillian was throwing his own shot. And he got to, and his trainers, in all fairness to them, I know I've slagged them off, but his trainers, in all fairness, were telling him to kind of calm down and not get excited. You know what I mean? Calm down, don't get excited, and take your time. But even if you don't do that, even if you don't listen to your trainers and you get kind of stuck in, you shouldn't be getting at this level. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in sparring, you don't spar being completely risk averse, do you? You don't spar like, oh shit, I can't get hit in a fight. Like, do you remember, like, for example, do you remember people like Holyfield? I know I always use that, but Holyfield, James Toney, maybe these guys are ultra elite and they're bad examples, but Holyfield and Toney, they were able to be in the pocket. Or even lesser fighters. Well, who was it? Who did Holyfield fight? Holyfield fought someone called Burt Cooper, I think it was. Holyfield versus Burt Cooper, yeah? Them two, man, most people don't even know Burt Cooper. And that's my point. Many people today will rate that Dillian Whyte's better than Burt Cooper. Burt Cooper was able to stand there with Holyfield and trade, take shots and whatnot. So what I'm getting at is, why is it, like, top 30 fighters from 20 years ago could be in the pocket and take licks and give licks? Now, our best fighters, they get touched with one shot by an old 40-year-old man. Burt Cooper was taking licks and giving licks with Holyfield, a prime Holyfield. Dillian Whyte had an 8-year age advantage. He was much fresher. And he gets hit with his first shot and he's out. I don't know, man. I just feel like there's a big question now about Dillian's chin. A big, big question. And I'm not sure what he's going to do about that. But luckily for Dillian, there aren't that many athletes in there. Who have we got? Fury hasn't got the power that Povetkin's got, but he might have the work rate. But still, I can't imagine Fury knocking Dillian out. Even like that, I can't imagine it. I just don't think Fury's got that kind of power. But like I said, he could put a few shots together maybe and buzz Dillian. But taking or not thinking about Fury, in reality, you've got AJ who can knock Dillian out. You've got Wilder maybe with a right hand who can knock Dillian out, maybe. And that's really about it. Daniel Dubois can knock Dillian out. So really, there's only a few fighters in heavyweight divisions today who can not, even with Dillian's dodgy chin, there's only a few out there who Dillian needs to be aware of or wary of. But yeah, the rematch, Dillian's just gonna run 100%. He's gonna fight he's gonna fight even more risk averse than when AJ fought Ruiz. He's just gonna backpedal the whole night and take no risk, I think. Now, fair play if Dillian comes in and decides to mix it up, because maybe Dillian will do what what I thought AJ should have done. Maybe Dillian will think, oh, fuck this guy. He knocked me out. He embarrassed me. I'm going to go in there and knock Povetkin out. If he does that, I'll give him 10 out of 10 respect. But I've got a feeling he's going to go in there and think, oh, shit, I'm going to kind of back up and run around the place. But that's just prerogative. Listen, you can't afford to be... Bearing in mind, I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about how Dillian Whyte's chin's questionable. I guess in a way he can't risk that, because if Dillian Whyte's chin really is as vulnerable as I think it is, how can he possibly go in there and take risk? Because if he gets caught again, because it's not like Dillian got it's not as if Povetkin hit Dillian with 5 shots in a row and Dillian got buzzed and whatnot. He got hit with 1 shot. Dillian's chin couldn't hold 1 shot in 4 rounds, and what makes it worse for me is the fact that Dillian wasn't even tired. Like, it's one thing, we all know that when your cardiovascular system is strained, the threshold to be knocked out lowers, doesn't it? When you're a fresh fighter, your threshold's up here. When you're tired, the threshold to be knocked out drops loads. Dillian was fresh. He was fresh, not breathing heavy, and still, it took 1 shot to knock him out. So with that in mind, he can't take any risk in the second fight. Just on that basis, he literally cannot dare to risk it, because he'll end up going to sleep, and it will happen again. But maybe I'm being dramatic here. We do know Dillian he's got a good career of being relatively safe. Rivas is relatively safe, but then again, look at that fight. He got clipped and put down. The difference is Rivas is a bit too heavy. Povetkin, he was a bit fat in this fight, but his shots were. He's got a lot more snap on his shots than Rivas has. Rivas is way too bulky. He's like really bulky. When you're that bulky, it just takes all the snap off. Povetkin's bulky, but he's got the snap on it. He's got that amateur 300 fight amateur snap on his shots, and that's what Dillian Whyte felt tonight. The snap. And I have to give AJ credit as well. Like I said at the start of this video, the fact that AJ did what he did against Povetkin. People were saying, oh, Povetkin's written off. Well, he's not written off, is he? Because Povetkin was in worse shape against Dillian Whyte for sure. He was fat, and everyone was saying, oh, I think Povetkin's just come here for a payday and whatnot. Look at how big he was. So the fact he's come in there and done that, no wonder AJ was somewhat risk averse against Povetkin. But anyway, before I go, mad show. Yeah, but before I go, I want to pick up on what AJ said. AJ talked about, he said, not about Dillian Whyte, but he said, I'm dying to get in the ring. I'd love to get, after the fight, he's talking about himself now, and he says, I'm dying to get in the ring. I'd love to get in the ring now. And I'm thinking, if you'd love to get in the ring now, why the fuck ain't you getting in the ring now? You know what I mean? You should have been, you're like, I've been dying to get in the ring for the last 6 months. Why didn't you? That's what I want to know. Oh, he's like, well, it's got to be December. No, it hasn't. You mean you want the fucking gate? You know what I mean? But you could have made more money on the pay-per-view. I know I spent a whole fucking video talking about that, but I'm just pissed off about that. Hearing AJ say, oh, I wish I could fight. Well, what the fuck ain't you fought then? But anyway, that's here or there. My conclusion is, ultimately, Eddie Hearn, number 1, ripped off fucking Pursoon. So he's got his comeuppance now, because he's lost a big, well, I guess the second fight will be a big payday, actually. Allegedly, this one might have done 1 million pay-per-views. So the rematch will do probably 1.2, maybe, or definitely another million. So that's a good fucking payday for both fighters. So I guess Eddie Hearn hasn't lost out. But yeah, anything can happen, man. It's a big shame though. Like I said, my biggest takeaway is the fact that it's like another dent, isn't it? Now we've got this is a whole another year cycle now. It's like when AJ lost. When AJ lost, it put us on a whole year cycle. Although luckily enough for AJ was in a good position to lose then, because when AJ lost, if you remember correctly, guess what? Fury didn't want it. Dillian didn't want it. Wilder didn't want it. So AJ actually lost at the best time, and that's what I think AJ is somewhat blessed in that sense, because his career seemed to just fall into place. I.e., at a time when AJ had nothing going on in his career, he had no mandatories, there was no one ready to fight. At that time when he needed like a little boost, he lost. Perfect time. Couldn't have been a more perfect time to lose. When Fury and Wilder were running away from him and whatnot, he lost at a perfect time. Dillian, on the other hand, he's like the opposite of blessed. He's lost at the fucking worst time, any. The one he was just there. I know Fury was trying to duck him and whatnot, but literally, there was talks of the WBC having to strip Fury to give Dillian Whyte the belt. That's where we were at. With or without Fury, Dillian Whyte was going to fight for the WBC. That was the stage we'd come to. My man fucking loses. Literally the worst time. And now, Dillian Whyte's lost. Fury can fight Wilder in a few months. And then say, oh, well, Dillian's lost now. And he's got an excuse now, hasn't he? To keep his belt and not fight Dillian. Now Dillian Whyte's lost. The WBC's got an excuse to put the mandatory back another year. Because they can say, well, Dillian, you're not a mandatory anymore, because it's now Povetkin who's mandatory until you kind of replay the fight. Maybe, if Dillian's smart, he will want the rematch in fucking December, January latest. There's no reason he can't... Yeah, he took some damage, but I'm saying there's no reason he can't take 4 weeks off now. Let's assume he takes 4 weeks off. Well, let's call it 5 weeks. He takes 5 weeks off now. That takes us to the end of September. Let's say he wants a 3 or a 4 month camp. October, November, December, January, 4 month. Yeah, so based on a 4 month camp, which no one does, most people do a 3 month camp at best. So based on a 3 month camp, that brings us to the start of January, which makes sense, man. We've got AJ in December, Dillian Whyte in January or February. That's what makes the most sense for me now. If he does it any later, he's got no chance. To be honest, he's got no chance of the mandatory happening now anyway, if I'm honest. Even if he fights Povetkin in February again and wins. Is there a third fight? You know what I mean? Especially if it's close. Is there a third fight with Povetkin? Probably not. Like Ruiz didn't get one. But I think the difference is Ruiz didn't beat AJ in a clear fashion, in my opinion. He didn't. I don't think it was that clean, man. But listen, Dillian Whyte there's no two ways about Dillian Whyte losing that fight against Povetkin. AJ didn't lose the same way Dillian Whyte lost, did he? So there probably are arguments for a third fight, but knowing Hearn and whatnot, they probably won't do it. Anyway, it's exciting. Dillian took his after ball. End of the day, he took his after ball, man. And I know it's a sport and that's how things go, but he started trying to get mixed up. He started feeling himself. That's what happens when you feel yourself. He started feeling like the man. He was thinking, oh, I can touch this guy at will. And to be honest, until he got knocked out, I probably would have agreed with him. Yeah, you can touch him at will. I wouldn't have called him a liar. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, I've read all your man's comments now, and I think unless you man got anything to say, I think I'll fucking end the stream there still. How's this thing working? They're annoying. But yeah, anyway, appreciate you man tuning in. You man can watch the replay. The link's up on Patreon. And I'll catch you man on the next one. One love.